Every single one of your ancestors, going back roughly 25 million years, had a tail. Every fish, every early mammal, every early primate, tails all the way down. Then, in one single ancestor of apes and humans, evolution flipped a switch, and the tail vanished from our entire branch of the family tree forever.
Which is genuinely strange, because tails are useful. Monkeys still use theirs for balance, for gripping branches, even as an extra limb. Losing one should have been a disadvantage. So somewhere around 20 to 25 million years ago, something happened in the DNA of a single ape ancestor that made an entire lineage, gorillas, chimps, orangutans, and eventually us, grow up tailless. For over 150 years, scientists knew this loss had happened, but not how. Then, in 2021, a researcher named Bo Shah, recovering from a bike accident that nearly injured his own tailbone, found himself staring at an X-ray of the one bone in his body that used to be a tail, and got curious enough to go looking for an answer.
Here's what he found. Deep inside a gene called TBXT, which normally helps build a developing embryo's tail, there's a tiny genetic insert, a short, repetitive stretch of DNA that isn't found in monkeys, but is found in every tailless ape, humans included. That insert doesn't sit inside the working part of the gene. Instead, it sits in a spot that changes how the gene gets edited before it's used, causing the cell to produce a slightly different, shortened version of the TBXT protein. That shortened protein is close enough to the original to still do most of its job. Basically, evolution's version of a typo that happened to still spell a real word. But just different enough that it fails at one specific task, finishing the growth of a tail. So in every human embryo, a tail actually starts forming, right on schedule, around 4 weeks in. Then, around 8 weeks, that tail-building process gets cut short, and the cells that would have become a tail are reabsorbed into the body instead, leaving behind just a small stack of fused vertebrae, your coccyx. Losing this one genetic switch wasn't free, though. That same TBXT change appears to slightly raise the risk of certain spinal cord defects in humans today, a trade-off that got carried along accidentally with the tail loss, baked into the same stretch of DNA millions of years ago. Which means the reason you don't have a tail isn't some grand evolutionary strategy. It's a copy-paste error in one gene in one ape tens of millions of years ago. One that happened to stick around long enough to become permanent in an entire branch of the primate family tree. And somewhere out there, a scientist who only found this out because he hurt the exact bone this whole story is about is probably still